Hello and welcome back to the DVD Bunker. I'm Brian. It's Matt.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. As always, it's my pleasure to be the keymaster to your gatekeeper.
Oh, I like that. We called a little bit of an audible at last minute. Don Rickles passed away. I mean, he didn't pass. This is on down the line. It's been a week or so ago, and I put the the dirty work on the DVD Bunker list. But I was like, you know what? Let's move it on up. Let's get it on here. And so I'm excited, but I didn't plan anything. So let's just start with the show. What do we do on the show? We watch movies, and we watch older movies or movies that we don't think people know enough about and things we haven't seen. This definitely falls into the not enough people talk about it category for me anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I think Dirty Work is great. This is the one where we really thought Norm McDonald was going to break out. Right?
Yeah, when you said this, when we talked about this today, that's what I was thinking. Like when I watched this, it was like Screwed was the most let down I've ever been by a movie because I was so I was so high on
my wife loves
Dirty Work.
Screwed.
All she does?
She does. She's a big Elaine Stritch fan, to be
Okay.
fair. And she's
great.
recognizes the quality of it. It's not like she deludes herself into thinking it's good. She just likes it for what it is. So, and with comedy, it's hard not to. If you find it funny, you find it funny.
And not that it was bad. It was like I thought it was going to be like the Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison 1-2.
Well,
you know
right.
what I mean?
And you had Dave Chappelle in there too, which is like, how can you,
Exactly.
and that was before he broke out. But if you were in the know, I think it was right after Half Baked, but before Chappelle's show. I mean, he was primed. You know?
Yeah. I
But we're
agree.
not talking about Screwed. No. We will though. It definitely just made the list. But we're talking about Dirty Work. So, directed by Bob Saget.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense on a lot of the parts.
This was kind of the first time anybody ever saw him in that light, I think, outside of... I remember his whole, you ever suck dick for...
in Half Baked,
and then this was like his directorial kind of follow-up to that, I think.
Okay.
And then third wheel in this is Artie Lange, who's... It's funny because... I think they purposely didn't put Farley in it because they didn't want to draw comparisons to the Spade Farley thing. But then Chris Farley absolutely has one of the greatest cameos of all time in this movie as like crazy bar guy. So
that's right, with the nose.
With the nose, exactly.
This is weird. This is a weird movie to me because even thinking about these parts now and the other parts I just thought on my own, this to me in my mind is still fucking hilarious. But you never hear people talk about this ever. And this is older than I thought too. So I forgot Farley was still alive. So this is what, mid-90s?
Yeah, it has to be because he died in 96.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. So this is probably right before. This is 98.
You watch this show and you think that we don't prep anything because it seems so unprofessional, but look how bad it is when we don't. Like, usually I at least have the year the movie came out written down or something.
Or maybe just the smarts for me not to ask what the year the movie came out when you said I didn't prepare anything.
That's okay.
Oh, well.
It's all right. Hey, we're shooting from the hip today. It's, improv bunker, more even so than usual, I guess. So, yeah, we covered, I don't know, there's not much else to talk about. I'm sure we'll come up with something. This is just a train to nowhere anyway. Let's just go to watch the movie.
All right, let's watch some Dirty Work, baby.
All right, we're back. We watched Dirty Work. I think our shortest, we've come in under the wire, our new shortest movie we've ever watched. I never realized how short this, 76 minutes. a tight. Now I know we've denoted in the past that might note quality issues in some movies. Seems like the shorter they are, maybe the more issues they have. I don't know. We'll see how that pans out, I guess. See how that pans out for this.
Absolutely.
I know his very first thing, right from the first shot, felt exactly like Tommy Boy.
Oh, yeah.
The pan down from the tree and the music and everything, and even I guess with starting him as a little kid, it's a longer scene with Mitch. I know I'm gonna call him Norm the whole time. His name's Mitch Weaver, but I'll probably just call him Norm. And I think Artie Lange's name is Sam.
Yeah, Sam.
I'll probably call him Artie Lange.
Yeah, Artie and Norm.
Yeah, Artie
and I
and
will
Norm.
say, I believe this movie was written. Same guy, Tommy Boy, Black Sheep,
Is it? Well,
Dirty Work.
I didn't look that up. I did look up the writers because one of them makes a cameo kind of later in the movie, and I wanted to see. I knew he was a writer and wanted to. Was like, did he have a hand in this, or is it just the SNL connection or whatever? So it starts out, we see him as kids, and we kind of like they lay it out that Sam and Norm and Artie are best friends. Artie's dad is kind of like a tough guy who, Norm McDonald's dad isn't around, so he kind of fills in a little bit and basically learns the lesson not to take crap from anybody.
Yeah.
So anybody who messes with them as kids gets back. Now, I want to talk a little bit about these pranks, because this is kind of a theme throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like, where do the pranks rank on the scale of, like, crimes to almost like totally ineffectual.
There is like, I think when they're kids, they're like the one with the crossing guard, they're doing good stuff. You know what I mean?
What about getting the kid with the guns? That one I thought was very questionable.
I was going to say, that's the only one to me that isn't a crime or they would go to jail. Of all the ones, that's the only one that's considered a good deed.
They put guns in a kid's desk, which is a plot point for the first season of Fargo. That's like a dramatic thing. And then they kick the door open and take a picture of her. They basically fappening their babysitter and take a picture of her on the toilet.
Yep. And then I feel like the law enforcement and the way that it works in this movie is bananas. Like a lot of this movie.
I think it's one of those things with comedies, like the law is only involved when it serves the plot of the movie. Yeah. Like everything else is just kind of let off the wayside. He's at his low point. He had to move in with Artie, and then they're at a bar, and they get into a fight with these frat guys, and they get their asses kicked. And they've had the last straw, so they're gonna get back to their pranking ways, and they have this elaborate prank where they end up getting the frat guys taken by the cops and beat up, and then they get to smack the frat guys and get revenge. This is where I want to start to talk about a couple movies. There's two movies I want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about Ghostbusters and a little bit about Half-Baked.
Okay.
These are two movies that have very similar plots to Dirty Work. That came out, Half-Baked came out right around the time of Dirty Work, and then Ghostbusters. So, like, the part here we have, in Ghostbusters, you see them going out, they're doing their ghostbusting thing, they have their idea, but they still have their regular job. Mm-hmm. That's this part of Dirty Work. They find their pranking idea, and they like it, they get their passion, but they don't have the, like, drive to turn it into a business. They haven't had that inciting incident. In Ghostbusters, it's them getting fired.
Oh, yes.
And it's Pops has his heart attack. Half-Baked, same thing. They find the source of this good weed, then inciting incident, their friend goes to jail. So that's how they get the business going. So you have these three movies. There's the people have their passion. Then there's a problem they need to solve. The way they solve it is to use their passion to start a business.
I see. Interesting enough. I do want to talk about, though, something that really bothered me about this watch of the movie is that they explain to you that Pops, of course, being an old man and needing a heart transplant, and has no real... But what that means is they're paying $50,000 to take a heart away from a young child who needs a heart transplant.
Somebody who could live a long life.
To give dad like 10 more years
to sexually assault women, more than likely. My good, strong new heart. I can finally get a boner again. And
he really does cross the line over being like endearing, and you're afraid for.
By the end, we'll get to it. But by the end, I think they take it one step too far.
It was hard for me to root for these guys because I just thought of the little girl that is like with her family. Like, do you think it's gonna happen today? And then Chevy Chase goes in and tells them no.
Yeah, well, that's what we do need to talk about. Chevy Chase. Amazing. I don't even want to call it a cameo. It's more just like a bit part, right? And this is pre his kind of comeback in Community. This is late 90s. He was kind of doghousing it at this point, after the failed late night show and all that. But he's full on Chevy Chase. He's hilarious.
Oh, it's great, Chevy Chase.
And, like, all the bits are that he's just got this gambling. That every time you see him, he's like a little more beat up. He's got his arm in a cast and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and he lets us into his horrible game. It's a great bit. That's the thing. The comedy in this movie is hilarious. Like it holds it up a bit.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, it's hard to. I don't want to just make this a show about like retelling jokes from Dirty Work. Go and enjoy Dirty Work. But yeah, I agree. I think there's some really funny stuff in here. So the whole idea is they need the $50,000 to pay Chevy Chase. It's not to buy the heart; it's to pay him for him to pay his this, and then he'll do the surgery. He'll take the heart and give it to Pops.
Steal it.
Yeah. They try a couple jobs that just don't work, but then they get the job at the movie theater, and this is pretty much the reason we're doing the movie is because of the passing of Don Rickles, legendary. Basically insult comic, right? I mean, that's his whole deal. Yep. He's in full form in this one. And I like that you could tell they didn't write anything for Rickles. They were like, we'll stand in a line, come up to us and do your thing. And like, I don't know how well his comedy translates to like what people currently consider funny. Like when you compare it to like the kind of more like thoughtful and awkward and situational stuff that's really big now. I don't know. Do you think people still find Rickles as funny? I do, but I also am old now.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I put him in the like same boat as Joan Rivers, where I think you don't see that kind of comic though anymore.
No,
and
well, I mean,
maybe
like a Lisa Lampanelli or something like that. The
true.
roast comedians are kind of the next step beyond, I guess.
Yeah, but what I always liked about Rickles and Joan Rivers was and Lisa Lampanelli does it too, but they just pick people in the audience,
right?
Go at, and it's in a good hearted way more with Joan. I feel like Don would just. He just
cut you to the core, cut you to the quick, for sure.
And he gives it to Artie. I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah, he does really good. And I'll say it that this might have been one of my introductions to Don Rickles. Like, I mean, I don't know how much I saw of him before I saw Dirty Work. Now that we talked about this, came out in late '97, early '98. You know, I don't know how much Rickles I got before then. Yeah, so who knows if I even knew at the time, but. God bless him, and basically he's the inciting character for them kind of making that final step and really getting the plot going. He's really mean to him, and there's a couple guys there that are like, oh, we really need this job, but man, we'd give you a couple bucks if you'd take him out, and
Yeah.
So this is where they get the idea to use their pranking as like a job and make money off of it. And so not only is he great in the movie, but he's actually pretty important to the movie as a pretty little, even though it's a small moment.
Yeah, the light bulb
Absolutely.
moment.
So big ups to Don Rickles, and thanks for being in Dirty Work and
giving it to Artie Lange. Good. I'm sure he still talks about that time. He's like, yeah, that wasn't written. Don Rickles just lays into you.
He didn't even know the camera was on, actually.
He just walks up talking about Baskin Robbins. Oh, that's great.
So they get the idea to start their Dirty Work business, and I have to say, one of the things that always pissed me off is what the hell do they buy the storefront for?
Yeah.
They rent a storefront, and I mean, even Artie Lange is like, this is a terrible, like, why did we waste money on this?
And it is the worst idea.
It's not even the type of business that needs a storefront.
No, and everything you're doing is illegal, and they talk about it in the movie, like the police are like, these are the dumbest criminals I've ever seen. Yeah, it's essentially like if you were going to start selling drugs.
They're trying to raise $50,000. Artie Lange says his sister sends him like $2,000, and they spend 4 days in doing fake odd jobs. They're down to like their last 6 days or something like that, and they rent a storefront.
Yeah, and he talks about the rent. It's like, this whole movie's gonna be over before we have to pay you any money. He's like, better pay me the rent. Yeah. I'm gonna punch you. It's like, no, we're gonna be in here for a week tops.
Yeah,
maybe they think more long term. You got to think maybe Norm McDonald thought, you know what, this is bigger than Pops. This is my life now.
Well, this is gonna take off so fast. Not only are we gonna have the money for Pops, we're gonna need this business. Yeah. We're gonna need it ready to go.
We filled a
he's a dreamer. He's a dreamer.
Exactly.
We can go ahead and talk about Traylor Howard, who's the female lead. You're right. I think we meet her when they get beat up, but she also. It's when they're setting up the storefront that he like kind of really runs up to her,
starts to.
And follows her to work, and we get our next big prank too.
And but I want to say this: I think of all the horrible women on DVD bunkers, she may be the worst because the message we get about her character is: if you can make 30 seconds of quick kind of conversation that makes a girl laugh a little bit, you can treat her like shit for the next couple weeks, and she continues to fall deeper in love with him.
She's really wishy-washy, like. There's that trope in movies, period, where like, you think they're gonna, and then they fight, and then they get back together, but that happens like 2 or 3 times, and this is in a 75-minute comedy.
And he never does anything to like redeem himself. He never does anything.
No, not really. He just makes a quip, and she just falls for it. She loves it.
Yeah.
Well, like, I mean, okay, so they meet, and then he runs up to her right here, and he calls her by the wrong name, so he basically negs her.
Yeah.
He's basically negging her. He calls her by the wrong name, and then, she tells him, and then he follows her to work and finds out that she works for this asshole car salesman. So he decides their next big prank is going to be to prank him simultaneously, like help her out with her asshole boss and get them some publicity because like they're going to do it during this live commercial. But of course, it works.
It's a great idea.
Blows up the commercial and pisses everybody off. But yeah, she gets fired, of course, and is pissed off at him. But
that's not even.
She'll be coming back though. Let's wait on it.
That's not even the worst thing he does to her.
No, not even close. Not even close.
And I don't think he says sorry ever. I don't think he ever says. He doesn't do anything like endearing to win her back. He just shows up and is like, "Hey, I'm here.
I'm Norm McDonald." That's kind of yeah. It's not that I dislike the actress because if you don't know, she was on Two Guys and a Girl in the Pizza Place.
She's great.
She's very adorable, and she is acting. And I'll tell you what. her acting is noticeably good because of how bad Norm McDonald. I mean, we can just come out and say it because everything is delivered in that Weekend Update. He's just not an actor.
No.
If you like Norm McDonald's delivery and you find him funny, you'll enjoy this movie, no doubt, because he's hilarious. But if you're not into that, I don't know what to say. You probably will just be like, what the fuck am I even
turn
watching?
This off 10 minutes
Exactly. So it's all about style with this one. So the commercial works. Like the live commercial that they bust up the car dealership basically works. So they start getting prank jobs. This is where, again, we can get into, like, is it a crime? Is it even a useful prank? Like, the first one they get hired for is the little people from the circus hire them to get revenge on the bearded lady, and their plan, they shave her while she's sleeping. Seems like something that the little people easily could have done themselves.
Yeah,
right?
I know. And then, like,
they're just outside spray painting her sign while it's going on.
And you have to imagine she's storming off to the ringleader, or whatever you call the general of the circus, and she's going to tell him, and then he's going to see those guys are busted immediately. Like, what's the point of a third party?
I mean, at least with the movie theater thing, it was like those guys wanted to keep that job, so they were using them as a proxy. These guys are just right out in the open about it, so I don't even know how well that one works.
And there are about 4 crimes they commit to shave her beard off. I would say.
Definitely. There's some B&E. I mean, just shaving
assault.
her beard's an assault.
Yeah.
Do they drug her too?
Who knows? I mean, how do you get away with that?
I think the whole thing is she's a drunk and she passes out. It's Rebecca Romaine, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, you're on the hook for lost income from her bearded lady stuff. That's a civil suit, not a crime.
So that one, definitely not a useful prank. Definitely a crime.
And it's going to cost you on the back end, guys.
So the next one they get hired for is the guy, his neighbors are really raucous. He has these really loud neighbors. He wants them to do something to, what is it, like keep the neighbors from being quiet?
Yeah, they're too loud, and he just wants them to move out.
He wants them to move out. So they decide they're going to fill the house with rotten fish.
Yeah.
How do we feel about that as a prank?
Okay, this as a prank I think is okay. I feel like it's the least criminal thing they do, even though it results the most horribly, you would say, because I wouldn't put them on the hook for the murders.
No.
It's a little too far out of what you would think would happen. But yeah, I think though. Are you really going to move out on this one, though? Like, if you came home tomorrow...
You come home and everything's stinky. I mean, you would look for the fish, and there would be a while, and you'd have a hard time getting the smell out and everything, but I don't know if it's a move-outable offense. I don't know.
No.
So we're going to chalk that one up to not great prank either.
And let's say that another reason why this is a bad prank, I'm going to open all the windows. If I'm already being loud, now my windows are open, the music, all the noise is going to be even louder.
That's true, so you probably didn't really do the neighbor any favors either.
Shitty prank again.
Although this is a hilarious scene where they're standing there with the 2 fish while all that off-screen violence goes on, and like the descriptions, the way the guys describe it.
It's a great bit.
Really good bit. Really funny. Christopher McDonald plays Travis Cole, and yeah, he really is. He's Shooter McGavin without the golf. He's just it's snobs versus slobs. It's classic, again Ghostbusters. Again, half-baked a little less, but Samson does know he's fly. He does live that high rolling lifestyle. So I might throw down with a little snobs versus slobs on that one too. But Shooter McGavin drops the charges, and then is going to hire them for a job that is so obviously a trick that even they notice, but they just don't care because they're going to get the money. He offers to pay them $50,000, which is what they need, and that's all they care about. Which at that point, why didn't they ask for more?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to give all that up for Pop Tart, and you got nothing.
You know what you
show for it.
You know, the smart play is you ask for 100, half up front. You get the Pop's money up front. Then, if it turns out to be a shit deal,
to be fair, these are the guys we were just talking about who opened the storefront. So I'm not surprised that they didn't have our business acumen. But
the movie does paint. They do say Norm McDonald's a genius, although it is Artie that calls him a genius. So
That's true. By comparison, exactly.
Right. Nobody else really calls him smart. You're right.
No. So this is also where Kathy inexplicably comes back. She saw that he helped the old lady on the news, so she's happy with him again. She likes him.
That's what he did. So he committed a crime for money that incidentally helped an old lady. He's not so bad, Grandma.
Yeah. So, and that's what she does. She's like, you helped an old lady. I'll take you to meet an old lady. Kathy takes Norm McDonald, who, again, 2 out of the 3 times they've met has pissed her off.
Mm-hmm. And got in a bar fight.
Which is always a great sign. Boyfriend material.
Yeah.
Takes him to her grandma's house to meet her grandma. Her grandma lives in the place that he just got asked to destroy by Travis Cole. Mm-hmm. he was told by Travis Cole that it's full of... So instead of seeing this nice old lady and thinking that Travis Cole might be lying to him, what does he think about the old lady?
That they're, of course, they're prostitutes.
She's running a brothel. Yeah. She's a madam.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he basically just convinces himself and Artie Lange that it's a brothel. And so even though this girl he likes and he knows this is her grandma's house, he doesn't give a shit. He's gonna... it's all about Pops. They're going to get Pops' heart, so they proceed to go ahead and destroy the building. Now, this is where we get our titular use of AC/DC's Dirty Deeds, which I feel like is half the reason the movie's called Dirty Work.
Yeah. I felt like, that came before the title of the movie.
They got licensing to Dirty Deeds, and they were like, okay, let's work from there.
Yeah. And they were maybe even like writing this scene, and they were like, this is a scene where we play Dirty Deeds.
But to be fair, it's a really good scene to do it. It's a great montage of them destroying things and just doing, random stuff. Artie Lange finds out the big secret, which is that Pops is actually also Norm McDonald's dad, which I guess they give a little bit of an excuse, but yeah, it seems kind of silly for him to be met. They're like best friends. They spend all their time together. They basically grew up together. Pops basically half-raised Norm McDonald. He's like the only man in his life. And then Artie Lange gets mad when he finds out they're actually brothers.
Me too.
And they give this kind of like ham-fisted excuse about Pops was the only thing he ever had that was that was better. But
and
again, it just doesn't make a ton of sense.
It's like they have that falling out, and then in the very next scene, he's like, "Oh, I guess I overreacted. We're brothers."
Well, yeah, like they have that scene. Kathy again gets mad because
she knows the timeline and exactly what happened. And she's still not done.
She knows that he is the one that you took you to my grandma's the next day, but then she'll still be back though, won't she?
Yeah.
Not a great role model, girl. Sorry. So he's all the way down to sleeping in his car. Everything's gone to shit. He obviously doesn't have any money. Shooter ripped him off. He goes to listen to his notes to self, and he realizes that he accidentally recorded Troy Cole, or whatever, call him Shooter McGavin Part 2, whatever. Basically admitting James Bonding, admitting his plan and speechifying. I'm a little bummed out about this part. I like that they found a way to work to make it so that the tape recorder had a place in the plot. Because you got Norm's bit in there, but you made it germane to the plot. Okay. But it takes away all his agency. I would have liked to have seen him come up with something. He just gets the solution handed to him by accident. He's so dumb, he falls into the solution. He's made nothing but wrong choices the whole movie, and he just falls ass backwards into the solution. I wish this would have been a point to give his character finally a little bit of... Like, he's smart enough to come up with all these pranks. Give him a way to actually... Because even though he does get to pull off his giant prank here, but really... The only thing that matters is the tape he got by accident.
Yeah, and it is kind of comes off lazy because it's like, we got the tape recorder, just put it on there, that'll show him.
Yeah,
and this again, the way though that this comes back on Shooter, like it doesn't. None of this really makes sense. I don't understand how this is. First of all, we'll get to that.
Well, no. I mean, we can go into the ending. I think we're getting there.
Yeah, we're there.
So he basically is going to gather up. I don't know why they introduce so many characters, because they had to then bring them all together for this final plot, and so many of them have nothing to do. Like he brings together all the prostitutes that he used from that prank at the auto dealership, and they're really just there to, at one point, they kind of like get in Troy's face and like hiss at him, and that's like the only thing they do
to make him stay. Which I don't know what he was going to do anyway. I mean, I guess
they bring back the landlord is there. Now there is one important character that we haven't even talked about yet. We need to talk about Jimmy from the bar, Chris Farley, in an amazing side performance. I mean, he's doing nothing but Chris Farleying all over this movie. Like, the character is barely a character. He's just Matt Foley without half his nose. He's just yelling and being crazy, but he's so great. He's so Chris Farley.
It's exactly what he was meant to do. You know what I mean? To be that guy on the side. I mean, I know he can carry a movie on his own. We've seen that, but this is him at his best. I mean, really.
That is an awesome segue for me to talk about a very hot take I'm going to share with you right now. I'm going to share with everybody. I love Chris Farley, big fan. I grew up in the Chris Farley era. Tommy Boy is an all-timer. I think that Chris Farley always worked best as a side player. You talk about movies like Wayne's World, Airheads, Coneheads, this. Always did his best work, swoop in Billy Madison and just nail it and be... I love Tommy Boy, but arguably his only really good lead. There's spent a lot of time trying to recreate that, and this is going to be the hottest take of all. I think his legacy has done a real service by his passing. I mean, I miss Chris Farley, and I love Chris Farley, but think about this. He would be the Kevin James in all the Happy Madison movies right now.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
And think what that would feel like, to be watching everybody be hating on Adam Sandler, and you'd have to see him right in there with David Spade and Chris Rock, just slumming it. So I think as much as it hurt to lose him, I feel like it's maybe the best thing that ever happened to his legacy.
Okay. And I think you're right, because it's hard to imagine him going into a...
He was already on the slide. When
but
you
a
think about
role, like
Almost
to take that
Heroes era, like I mean, he was already in decline when he passed. Now, there's nothing to say he couldn't have come back, but look at the other people from that era. Who is doing well outside? I mean, Sandler is doing well financially, but like in the shape of his actual career, how well is he doing?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I love Chris Farley. I think he's hilarious in this. I don't want to take anything away from him or the work he did, but I just feel like people who are like, oh, man, we gone too soon. We could have had so much to give. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure he had much more to give. I think maybe it was okay.
You're right.
You know? Basically, happy ending. Pops gets his heart. He hooks up with Kathy's grandma for some reason. Because they were both
which
old
doesn't
people.
seem right either, because that doesn't seem like the kind of lady he'd go for.
And she seemed too nice to put up with that kind of like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although you never know.
Well, look who her granddaughter is. I mean, they don't give a shit.
True. Maybe it's a generational thing. She's the one who raised her granddaughter to be a doormat.
Yeah.
So.
And when you think of it, they said they got new jobs and they're driving in a car. They're probably hitting the road on the lam. You know what I mean? Because he's going to jail, just like Shooter.
And then they have that great stinger about Chevy Chase. The doctor is like he paid the bookies, but they beat him to death anyway. So he's dead. Goodbye. So good. Great stinger, great end to his character. So I guess we can go right into character corner.
Yeah. I'm ready. I want to shout out. Now this movie has everybody. I mean, you could list off. There's bam, 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 bam. But
there's a ton of them.
A guy I love every time. David Koechner. He's the dealership. He's the owner of the dealership who they prank. He doesn't have very much to do, but they give him those lines where he's yelling and it's great.
He does have one of my favorite exchanges with Norm McDonald when the trunks are. The whole prank is that the trunks are opening during his commercial, and there's these prostitutes pretending to be dead. Norm's like, oh, there's dead. And he goes, these cars are fully loaded, and they're loaded with dead hookers.
That's the thing. I
love that kind of Norm delivery there.
Yeah, and it is the thing. Like like Brian said, we don't want to redo the jokes, and it sounds like we're just kind of shitting on this movie, but the comedy parts of this movie are so quotable, so great. We have a friend, every time they said a line in this movie, I thought of our buddy. He would quote this movie nonstop. Yeah. I heard his voice every time, so great comedy.
As far as other character corners, we had cameos from Gary Coleman. He's a cameo. He actually pops up twice.
Yeah, great. Both are great.
Yeah, and also in one of those cameos, a little Adam Sandler sneaker
in there
quick
too.
Sandler as the devil. John Goodman pops in at the very end,
which is it's off-putting now because he's so big now. But you think about the timing of this is maybe right off the end of Roseanne.
Yeah, right near it. Absolutely. Yeah.
So maybe he's kind of thinking like, I'm going to make this move in that. There's enough time's gone by since King Ralph now.
Yeah, how many movies has he been in now that we've done? Because I mean, we've done some full-on. We did Red
proper
State.
King Ralph and Red State, and I think he pops another one. I was trying to think of this
campaign.
In the movie. Yeah, campaign. So it's like
too.
4. He's definitely the lead now.
Absolutely.
Which I like it that way. I would always love John Goodman to be.
To make sure we always do the most John Goodman.
For a minute, it was Jeffrey Jones. I feel like we had to push him out.
We need to get Jeffrey Jones out of here. It's too much. Too much. Two of the bums, and we talked about. They're 2 SNL writers. I don't know if these count as character or cameo corner.
They're great, though.
But Tim Herlihy and Fred Wolf. And Fred Wolf is the one I was talking about, co-wrote with Norm McDonald in this one.
And I think he's the one that wrote Tommy Boy and wrote some of that stuff, too.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was really like the guy Lorne Michaels was using to shepherd his, you know what I mean? He's like, put him with a writer, work with the production, working with the production house and get my, because Lorne Michaels is all over anything that has an SNL star in it. Any first movie, at least, always has Lorne Michaels. Even if it's not an SNL character they're doing, Lorne Michaels always producing.
Absolutely.
Let me make sure I hit it. Oh, I want to shout out Kevin Farley, too. Chris Farley's brother plays one of the guys who initially hires him at the movie theater, who's too afraid to go up against Don Rickles himself.
Which you're right, it is weird when you see him because he is like, that guy looks like kind of like Chris Farley.
He has one line he delivers that is exactly Chris Farley inflection. Yeah. I mean, you would be 100% sure that it was said by Farley. All right, so are we ready to do goodbye versus goodbye?
I am ready.
Let's hear it.
This is maybe the hardest for me because I don't feel like ever has a movie failed on the movie part, but been just a lot of fun to watch. But this is what I was talking about when you were thinking earlier. A lot of people, we always talk about Sandler and those guys from the 90s, how they've kind of fallen off. And there's an argument that's been made, not by me, and you probably heard it, that it's not that they've gotten less funny, same thing with Will Ferrell. It's us as a culture has changed, and we just aren't thinking the same things are funny. Now
they're still doing the same shtick.
Yeah,
we just don't like it.
Yeah, they haven't gotten any worse. It's all the same. And I think that Dirty Work makes that argument because I believe Dirty Work is sort of the last gasp of that type of comedy. These guys. Now this came out in '98 or in '99. Now this is when Adam Sandler moves on to do Big Daddy to that kind of, which isn't the same kind of movie exactly that he done. It was more of a dramatic turn in a comedy. You know what I mean?
True.
Not the same Billy Madison and stuff. And I think that this movie, the reason why a lot of people don't watch it is because it was the line had already been cut off, and then Dirty Work came out.
This probably came out around like the Little Nicky era, where he was putting out his less funny comedies. People were kind of over it, and this definitely has, like we talked about, Half Baked, but you can definitely feel some Tommy Boy and some Billy Madison on this.
Yeah,
so.
And all those movies are a few years old, and even Farley at this point, we'd had Beverly Hills Cop, and it's like that wasn't Beverly Hills Ninja. Sorry,
he should have been Beverly Hills Cop.
That would have been great. Yeah, so I think that this movie makes that argument because for me, this is on the level with those Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore. It's as funny, and if you start to think about the plot, you're like, "Oh, this is so fucking dumb." But if you just focus on the jokes and the quotes and the laughs, amazing. So for me, and I gotta say, if this movie was complete bullshit and I hated Norm McDonald, I think Chris Farley could save this movie.
Just in the few minutes he's in it.
Every second of every scene he's in, you're fucking laughing your ass off, and you're like, why is he in the whole thing? Why is Artie Lange here? Why can't he
because he wouldn't have been as good in the whole thing.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That's the trick with Farley.
Sprinkle him on.
He's so delicious, you want more. It's like capers. But if you get a lot of capers, it's like, whoa, this is nasty. You just need 1 or 2 capers. That's what Chris Farley is.
I'm so glad that we could nail down the legacy of the great comedy genius that was Chris Farley. He's like capers.
He's like capers. You heard it here first. But that is my take. I say it was a goodbye because it's hilarious, and I thought about, like, this flashed me back to like 15 years ago because I feel like we watched this a lot, and we used to quote this all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think that factors in. There's a lot of nostalgia wrapped up in this for me, but there's also, I think it is that thing. It's like you either like this kind of comedy and can watch this, or you just don't. And I think that's the thing with what makes comedy so hard and so subjective. Because I agree that, like, nothing about this movie works in any way.
Yeah.
The plot, nothing, none of it. But what does work are the jokes.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. You know what I mean? Like, Norm McDonald nails the jokes, the timing, the comic timing. I mean, you got Chevy Chase, you got everybody's on.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really funny, and but like I said, it's all hinged on, we talked about these little comedy pieces in it. It doesn't have any, they're strung together by a really, like I said, they just took the plot of Half Baked and were like, whatever, that's good enough. Yeah. Whatever. Guys, open it. Who cares? Hang this on it. Here's a bunch of really funny jokes we've got. Hang them on this. And it passes for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can say goodbye, but I can't say good movie. You know what I mean?
Exactly right.
That's where I'm at with it.
That's
where I'm at with it. I love it. It's hilarious. And it's terrible.
You're absolutely right. And I think, and I'll ask you where you fall on this. You're kind of saying the same thing. Is for us, we are those guys. It's like I can't think of any old actors, but it's like your dad telling you, like, "Oh, this is the funniest movie I ever saw," and you watch, you're like, "This is so dumb." And this is what I feel like. I've had people tell me
that about Animal House. Like, I really like Animal House, but it's just a little bit before our time. And And, like, I've had people try to watch it, they're just like, I can't get into that. I just don't see what's funny about that. And I could see this being one of those where, yeah, you definitely very, very subjective. And like I said, I think comedy is the most subjective anyway.
And I really think in the next 10 years, the kids, because we talk about, like, millennials, but whatever the next one is, kids that are, like, 5 years old right now, by the time they're old enough to start watching movies, I feel like they will. They'll be like, this will
come back. Do you think it'll come back around?
Ooh, that's true. Does that happen, though, a lot?
I mean...
I don't know about Dirty Work, but maybe some of the Billy Madisons,
I think that,
Happy Gilmore's could.
Maybe some of the better versions of this.
Yeah, this is like Kentucky Fried Movie or something. Maybe like you want your people going back and talking about that. Right.
Yeah, I gotcha. Good call. All right, well, I had a good time watching it, regardless.
Oh yeah.
If you are a fan of this movie out there, let us know. At Hercules.
At the Drunksman.
On Twitter, #DVD Bunker. Like this video. Leave us a comment down below, too. I look in on those. I try to comment back to people. Subscribe to the TUFF channel. Watch all the TUFF content. Whenever we just release this, there's a new Edgar Wright episode of OSP. I actually got to be on that one and talk a little bit about how much I love
just
the Cornetto trilogy.
Edgar is almost like our John Carpenter.
Hey. I've had some hot takes about Scott Pilgrim. Let's put it that way.
Oh, really?
Watch OSP and find out what I think. Boom. Look at that plug. How you like them apples?
That was good.
All right. Anything else?
No.
I don't think so. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.